Welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Are you doing the best for your client to help them create their legacy? Are you creating a plan that goes far beyond finances to help people ensure that it becomes the driving force behind all decisions? On this podcast, hosts Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller will help you with growing your practice and your clients' peace of mind. Together, they bring the best and brightest minds to share with you how to help your clients develop their best legacy. And now, here are your hosts, Katie Beth and Stan.
All right, this is Eddie James here with the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Good to see everyone. Today we have Anjali Patel with Tyler Allen Law Firm. Let me tell you a little bit about Anjali. Anjali has defined her career as a strong advocate for small business owners and individuals, assisting her clients in all aspects of civil litigation and transactional matters. She now focuses her practice on business formation and strategy, estate planning, and employment matters, providing creative and practical solutions to avoid costly litigation. Attorney Anjali Patel was born and raised in the Phoenix metropolitan area and is now proud to call Tempe home. Anjali serves on the board of directors for the Tempe Community Council, volunteering her time to address the human services needs of her local community. During law school, Anjali interned for the U.S. Representative of Arizona, Gabrielle Gifford, and externed with U.S. District Court Judge Stephen McNamee. She holds an undergraduate degree in Molecular Biosciences and Biotechnology and a certificate in History and Philosophy of Science. Anjali is also a National Merit Scholar. So Anjali, we're so glad to have you here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So first question, we're going to go a little bit back in time because I think it was one of the reasons for why we were so intrigued to we'll go ahead and reach out to you. How do you go from majoring in molecular biosciences to getting to law school? So we would love to hear about what that transaction is like.
Yes. So it's funny because at ASU, and they've got this reputation nowadays as the Center for Innovation. But when I went to ASU back in the day, so we're talking, like 15 years ago, there was all of this focus on how the biosciences, biotechnology could improve life, how we could use it to innovate, to improve all sorts of outcomes, from growing vaccines in plants to make it logistically easier to get it to a third world country without the expense of refrigerating it the whole way there, things like that. And so there was this big push at ASU. I will say they did well with saying, hey, science degree holders, look outside of science and see how you can connect with other industries with this background. So I've always liked science and technology, but I feel like it was only half my brain. The other half was like, I wanted to take complex ideas and bring them to, just everybody else. Like, how do you understand this? Break this down for people, and how can we use it strategically? And so I think that Career Services did a really good job of saying, hey, think about law school. Like, you get to take this background, which is a wonderful amount of training for you, and you get to apply it in a way that other people aren't. So I was definitely the only molecular biosciences and biotech major from undergrad going into law school that year, but I've never regretted that background. You can go to law school with any background you want, even though there's some more popular ones, but it's always been a fun twist. My favorite clients are startup businesses or people trying to do cool stuff, or pretty much anyone who I get to break down something complex and give it to them in a format they can understand and do something with it. And so it's just been about building on that experience ever since then.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for allowing us to kind of just walk that journey with you. So
yeah,
really exciting, very exciting. So why estate planning? How did you get into estate planning, into that niche?
I mean, it's kind of been a natural progression. My clients were coming to me starting a business, and they are saying, okay, how do I get my family taken care of? And you kind of start with, all right, so your two business partners, what do you need to protect yourself? What do you need to protect your assets? What do you need to shield yourself from liability? What does this look like? And then what's the next step? What if something happens to you? What if the business breaks up? What if one of you passes away? How do you get all of these things to your family? And so I love my clients. I don't want to be like, all right, I will take you this far, and then you need to go to somebody else to finish the solution. So that business and estate planning problem solving works really well together. And that's kind of how it bridged into the two.
Excellent. That's great. And I can tell that, at least from what it seems, that you really care about your clients, but what does it mean to you to be an estate planner?
For me, it's about protecting your loved ones. It's about, preparing for the worst so that unfortunately that day comes for everybody. And for my clients, it's so important that they protect their family. Now, I'm a mom and have a family too, and I feel that even more than I ever have. It's naming guardians for your kids. It's making sure your spouse can provide for your family when you're gone. And what does that look like? Like, I want to leave every client better than I found them. And there's like a palpable way to do that every time a client comes in to sign their documents.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That's really great.
Absolutely.
Really great. So how did you get to the current firm that you're at now for Tyler Allen?
So Tyler and I have been friends pretty much since I graduated from law school. I was interning, or I guess clerking, at a law firm that he was office sharing at, and he had graduated a year before me, and that's when we met. So we've been friends for about 13, 14 years now. I worked for him a few years ago, earlier in my career. I was his first hire, and I was like his go-to person for the things he couldn't do. And it was such a great experience, but eventually I wanted more. I wanted a taste of this complex civil litigation stuff. I wanted to know, what am I preventing my clients from when I'm creating that contract? What am I preventing them from having to experience? Because the toll civil litigation takes on your client it's heartbreaking sometimes to watch. But I needed that experience. I went out, I joined a couple other firms, and then I missed the freedom of getting to decide from start to finish what my client relationship looked like, and really getting to tailor a practice that fit well with what I loved. And so we had lunch one day, and we just started talking, and lunch turned into a 2-hour strategy session about how I could come back to the firm and what that would look like, and how different and empowering it would look at this stage of my career. And that's how I came to be at the Tyler Allen Law Firm for a second time.
No, that's great. So I love how you shared with us that you would be the advocate for your clients from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
So again, they don't have to worry about being handed off. And then also with that litigation background that you have as well, you can really provide some clarity with clients about possible landmines that you're trying to help prevent them from, because you've experienced that other side as well. Is that correct?
Exactly. I think when you niche down from the very start and you don't get to see what these other areas look like, sometimes that ends up to your detriment, because you don't see these big landmines coming, and you can't talk honestly from firsthand experience to your client about what the point of what they're doing is, what they're trying to avoid.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then what is an ideal client? What does that kind of look like for you?
An ideal client is ready to finalize those estate planning documents. It's been for so many of us, I think it's in the back of their minds for a while. Oh yeah, I need to get to that. And years go by and they don't do it. It's a client who's ready to be proactive, who's ready to talk, who hasn't said, oh, this one's out of my budget, so I'm not even going to talk to a lawyer yet. It's someone who's ready to say, okay, talk to me. Here's what my objectives are. Here's what I can afford, and is going to follow through and show up for those meetings, make some decisions, even though they're difficult at the time, and they're ready to feel better. because they don't have to feel guilty that they haven't crossed this T yet or dotted this I.
Right. Excellent. All right. Thank you for sharing that. And how would potential clients best find you?
You can find me online through our website, Allen Law AZ, so ALLENLAWAZ.com. And then there's a contact us button. You can select the area of practice you're looking for, and those estate planning and business ones automatically go to me, and then I can respond directly. You can get on my Calendly, and then we'll follow through with, making sure that you get reminders for your appointment. For our estate planning meetings, they're all going to be 30 minutes, complimentary. And we'll walk through, based on your objectives, what my recommendations are for what type of product we can provide you with and what the pricing is. It's all really upfront, and within 20 minutes, what my recommendation is.
Sounds excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah.
I know you've kind of alluded to this a little bit already there, Anjali, but what common issues do you help your clients with?
Yeah, so naming a guardian is a big one for my clients that are parents, especially newer parents. They don't know what this world looks like, and it's talking about when they might need to amend those documents too, just kind of having a general conversation so they understand what's in store, what's the next step, when do they need to come back if they ever need to come back to me. The other big things we do is making sure that if you own any sort of real estate, usually your main house, how can we protect that from going into probate? How can we ensure that that property goes where you want it to go as seamlessly as possible with as little cost as possible? What's the wrong way to pass property over to somebody else, and what's the right way? Another thing is, are you buying a second property? How do I protect myself from liability there, and then also make sure that it goes where I want it to go? That process looks a little different when it's your second home or an investment home that's a rental. And then, making sure that you don't run afoul with your HOA or something like that for the rental is another thing we can assist with. And it certainly is going to help you in the long run to talk to me before you take some of these steps where it's too late.
Right. And I can already tell you're bringing up certain areas that I'm sure that people are just not thinking about, when it comes to ancillary probate and the like. So It's great. That's great. So what would you say there, Anjali, are some of the common misconceptions that you receive when people come to meet with you?
Well, one is that you can't provide for your kids if you can't afford a trust. So you should just wait till you can afford one to make any decisions. Another one is that, husband and wife can have the same exact will. Nope, they're two separate documents, and separate decision making can apply. Another one is that you should wait until you're at the retirement age to even think about estate planning. Absolutely not. There's a lot of people that should think about it now. In fact, I would say most people that have any assets at all to protect need to ask themselves the question of, where do I want my stuff to go? And what does that look like? And then I would say a giant misconception is that, all I have to do is put my rental property in an irrevocable trust and I am good, I am protected, nobody can get at my assets. That's just a huge misconception that is just not true.
Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you for sharing, especially when you bring up certain areas like just the need that what these are items that I'll take care of later in the future, or just something that I feel like that really shouldn't be a concern based off of this season that I'm in my life. But again, you're stating that, I don't know, to me, I always think of that, in other states using the East Coast, most real estate transactions are handled by an attorney office, right?
Right.
While here in Arizona, it's handled by, an escrow, and sometimes I've always thought that sometimes we may be providing, a disservice to where if I'm sure that there will probably be a lot more conversations about estate planning once people obtain using their largest asset,
Right.
and start to go ahead and start that process and those wheels turning initially whether they do it that day or in the future, at least it's top of mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and there you've probably got considerations you want your clients to take into account too. But things like marriage, buying a house, and having kids, those are things that happen to those younger generations, and those should trigger. I need to talk to a financial planner. I need to talk to an attorney. I just need to make sure that what I think should happen can just happen seamlessly without all this later cost for that loved one who just lost you, and now they're faced with some big issues that aren't easy to fix.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Any stories where you can share about it going wrong, where estate planning going wrong?
Yeah, there's one that really breaks my heart. We just ended up finishing everything to the point that it looks better, but I had somebody reach out to me that I had known socially who was trying to get his parents to come in and get these documents done, and couldn't convince the parents to just come in, talk to me, have the intro meeting so we could talk it through, and that my friend's dad passed away before that document could be done, or before he even came to talk to me. And now unfortunately, I get to watch firsthand how much they regret it, and how much of a big stress it's been for the family, and that's heartbreaking. So,
Yeah.
you never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing it. What about one where if it going right, where estate planning going right, that comes to mind?
Oh my, I mean, that's everyone that walks in our door, right? So I love the clients who thought that an estate planning solution was out of their reach, and then they came to me, or they were really dreading the process, and then they comment, "You made this so easy." And dare I say that final execution is actually fun at my office. You get to hang out with 2 witnesses and a notary and me, and we have a great time, and it takes about 30 minutes or an hour, and everybody walks out smiling.
That's great. That's so great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What would you say, Anjali, is your biggest challenge in this season?
I think a big challenge for me in this estate planning context is that, that the potential client comes to me, is ready to start the process, knows it needs to be done, but then life gets in the way, and a few months can go by or longer where they don't follow through with the initial stuff. And that's tough. I think everybody thinks maybe that they really have to have all their stuff together and ready, and that they'll deal with that difficult question later, and then they'll ignore me until that point. And I wish I could reach through the email, to them, or the phone call they're not answering, and just say, listen, let's just book a meeting, get on my calendar. I promise you, I can help you make these difficult decisions, and let's just move on to the next step.
Right. Excellent point. All right.
Yeah.
And Anjali, anything else that you would like to share with us, but before we bring this to a close?
No, I love that I get to improve, something for people that's not always top of mind, but that could have such a huge impact on them financially and otherwise. And so I'm happy to get to do that.
Excellent. And again, where can we find you?
You can find me online, www.allenlawaz.com. Click that contact us button, or you can email me. You're going to have to spell my name right, though. It's ANJALI@allenlawaz.com.
Excellent. Well, Anjali, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Eddie James with Legacy Stories Podcast. I've been here with Anjali Patel, again with Tyler Allen Law Firm. Thanks for joining us, and thank you everyone for watching and listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Legacy Leaders Podcast with Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller. For more information on them and the show, please visit pinnaclelegacylaw.com. If you like what you've learned today, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.